Hi, I'm Gudrun Johnston, Brand Director for Simply Shetland and the designer behind the Hapkerchief. We are kicking off our knit along and I am going to go over some of the techniques to get you started.
Okay, so we are going to get started with casting on for our Hapkerchief, and we want to use a stretchy cast on, and here I have chosen to use the German twisted cast on, which is a stretchier cast on, and it also creates these little bumps that blend nicely into the rest of the garter stitch fabric. There is a more detailed video for the German twisted cast on that is linked through your pattern, but it starts similarly to the long tail cast on. So we have a long tail and then we have the working yarn. So my tail is long enough to accommodate the 149 stitches that we need to cast on, and the first stitch is a slip knot that's made and put on the needle. So that's the first stitch cast on, and then I set up having the tail of yarn going around on my thumb and the working yarn around my index finger, which is the same for the long tail cast on. I'm also using one needle size larger than what I will switch to after the cast on, and that just helps to keep it a little stretchier. And the reason we want it stretchy is that we have that lace pattern that we're going to be working in the lower portion of the Hapkerchief, and we want to be able to block out the undulations that old shell lace creates. So if the cast on is too tight, you won't be able to do that very easily. So for the German twisted cast on, you come under both strands on the thumb and then down through the center of the loop on the thumb, getting this wrap around the needle. Then you go over and catch the loop coming around the index finger and come back down again through the loop on the thumb, and then let go and just tighten that up slightly, not too tight. And again, there is a more detailed video for this cast on. So we'll go ahead and cast on until we have 149 stitches. Okay, so now I have my 149 stitches cast on. I have also switched over to the smaller needle size, so it's a US 8. I have interchangeable needles, so I just switched out the tips. If you don't have interchangeable needles, then you would just be knitting from one needle to the other. But we are ready to work our first setup round. And for this, we're going to be joining to work in the round. So what I like to do when I join for working in the round is take the first stitch on the left-hand needle and slip it over to the right-hand needle, and then take the last stitch that was cast on and pull it over that stitch. So now it sits on the left-hand needle, and then I place my beginning of round marker, and so those stitches are kind of crossed over each other. That's just to make the beginning of the round a little tighter and neater looking. So for this first setup round, we will be knitting 75 stitches, and then we're going to place another marker, a different looking marker from the beginning of the round marker, and that marker after the 75th stitch will be the location point for where we work the central double decrease, which is what is shaping the front kind of point of the Hapkerchief. Okay, so I am coming up on the end of that first round, and I placed the marker after the 75th stitch for my central double decrease. And this is where you would work your first wrap and turn if you're using that method. In the pattern, I describe how you can use wrap and turn instead of purling in order to make the garter stitch fabric, because this Hapkerchief pattern is all done on a garter stitch background. So if we were doing that without the wrap and turn, it would mean you'd be purling every other round. So to avoid doing that, we can use a wrap and turn. So I will come up to my beginning of round marker, slip the marker, slip the first stitch of the next round over to the right hand needle. I'm going to bring my yarn forward to wrap that stitch. I'm going to take it back over to the left hand needle, and then I'm going to turn my work. And so now I technically have the wrong side facing me. Put this beginning of the round marker back over here, and then I'm going to go ahead and knit back across on this wrong side. So when you knit the first stitch, just pull a little tighter on the yarn, and that will keep the wrap and turn join a little neater. So now we're just knitting back on the wrong side. It might also be helpful, if you are using the wrap and turn method, to place some kind of a marker on the right side of the fabric so that you know when you're on a wrong or a right side. If you weren't using the wrap and turn method, then you would just purl the next round without turning the work. So the right side would always be facing you, and every other row you would be purling. The other thing to mention about the wrap and turn method is that wrap and turn is going to happen at the end of every round. So you'll be switching back and forth between the right side and the wrong side, but the wraps will not get picked up. They will just be left there. They're not very noticeable in a garter stitch fabric. And if you are using the wrap and turn method, then you are going to need to spit splice in your new colors. You won't have to do that if you're just purling, although you can if you want to, even with the purling method. And you can find a detailed video for how to set up for that spit splicing also in the pattern. Okay, so now I'm coming up for the end of the second round. The wrong side is still facing me. I've done my spit splicing of the new color, not showing that in this video. As I said, you can look at the video link in your pattern for spit splicing. It's a really fun technique. I highly recommend trying it. You avoid having any ends to weave in, which is nice. Okay, so we have to do the wrap and turn again. So same as before, I'm going to slip the first stitch after the beginning of the round marker over to the right hand needle, bring my yarn forward, slip that stitch back and turn the work. So now the right side is facing me again. Now we are going to start working our lace pattern on this next round, and you can either use the chart and there are also written instructions for this. And again, just with that first stitch, make sure to tighten the yarn a little bit as you knit into that first stitch. So for this first round of the lace pattern, we knit one stitch and then we're beginning the old shell lace, which is a traditional Shetland lace pattern that gets used in the traditional haps or shawls that are knit in Shetland. So if you're looking at the chart, then we've started the red repeat section, which has 3 knit 2 togethers back to back. and then yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit one. So we do that 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the 6th time you make the yarn over, but you're going to go straight into a slip slit knit after that. So just watch out for that, because the tendency is to want to do another knit one after the 6th yarn over, but that will mess up the lace pattern. So just remember, you have to go straight into a slip slit knit. And we do the slip slit knits 3 times. And then a knit one. So that's the first repeat of the old shell lace, and that will get worked 3 more times, and then you'll follow the rest of the stitches until we are ready to do our central double decrease, which I'll show you next. Okay, so the point at which you're ready to work your central double decrease, you should always be 2 stitches away from the central double decrease marker here, and the central double decrease will only be worked on right side rounds. So to work this, you're going to slip those 2 stitches at the same time together as if to knit over to your right hand needle. You will remove the marker, you will knit the next stitch, and then you're going to pass those slip stitches, both of them, over that knit stitch. And that's us decreased 2 stitches. So every time you work the central double decrease, you'll be 2 stitches less for that round. And then you need to replace that marker, and then you'll continue with the second side of the chart, or continue with your written instructions, working for this first round of the chart, the old shell lace. So I'm at the end of that first round of the lace section. I'm going to work my next wrap and turn. So now I'm back to the wrong side, and I will pull my yarn tightly on that first stitch and then knit back across. You will notice on the chart too that you are, it's indicated when you're changing colour, so just keep that in mind, especially if you are doing the split splicing, so that you stop 10 stitches before the end of the round to make that colour change. And for these even numbered rows, you're either doing the wrap and turn and then just knitting back, or you would be purling, so you don't really need to look at the chart for anything. And the lace rounds of the chart aren't happening on every odd numbered row. They will be happening on rows 1, 7, 13, 19, 25, and 31, I believe, if I read that correctly. So you'll just continue following the chart or the written instructions, making your colour changes, doing your wrap and turn, doing your central double decrease, until you've worked through the lace instructions.
So I hope that that was helpful in getting you started on your Hapkerchief project. We are looking forward to seeing your progress and the colours you choose, so please remember to share that with us on Instagram and use the hashtags. And we will be sharing another video which will explain the second half of the Hapkerchief. So look out for that.